How do you survive whole in a world where we're all victims of something? It's to both of you.
How do you survive whole? I can't do this quickly, Juan.
Okay.
How can you survive whole and where we're victims of something? That's a nice, big, fat, Eastern, Western philosophical question about how do you get through. Sometimes you don't survive whole, you just survive in part. But the grandeur of life is that attempt. It's not about that solution. It is about, being as fearless as one can and behaving as beautifully as one can under completely impossible circumstances. It's that makes it elegant. Good is just more interesting, more complex, more demanding. Evil is silly. It may be horrible, but at the same time, it's not a compelling idea. It's predictable. It needs a tuxedo. It needs a headline. It needs blood. It needs fingernails. It needs all that costume in order to get anybody's attention. But the opposite, which is survival, blossoming, endurance, those things are just more compelling intellectually, if not spiritually, and they certainly are spiritually. This is more fascinating job. We are already born. We are going to die. So you have to do something interesting that you respect in between.
That was wild. I like it.
That's
Our opening clip was Toni Morrison being interviewed by the journalist Juan Williams. Fun fact, I met Toni Morrison at a book signing in Virginia years ago, and when it was my turn to come to the table and meet her and get a book signed, I spontaneously burst out in tears. There was no warning, just suddenly in her presence, the tears burst forth like there was some force field inside of her that my core being was responding to and just releasing and letting out. I've never experienced anything like it. And I've been around a lot of notable people in my day, including up to that point in my life. It was something deep, spiritual. I wanted to communicate to her. And that was the only way I could say it, through a sudden, unexpected, unstoppable flush of tears. She was incredibly sweet and understanding about it and curious. She looked at me with this interested, surprised look because I was the only one in this packed bookstore who suddenly did that. Let's just say Toni Morrison, with her classic novels like Beloved, which is consistently ranked by fellow writers as one of the greatest novels of the 20th century, and The Bluest Eye, she spoke to our exiled human condition and longing for home. Welcome to Gaslit Nation. I am your host, Andrea Chalupa, a journalist and filmmaker, and the writer and producer of Mr. Jones, the film the Kremlin doesn't want you to see, so be sure to watch it. In this week's bonus show, Russian mafia expert Olga Lotman and I continue our discussion about the surreal times we're acclimating to. And yes, it's shocking what humans can get used to, but still refuse to accept. It's a strange way to live. Our conversation includes how Trump is helping usher in the Chinese century. It may finally be here, thanks to Trump. His meme coin cash grab at the expense of his supporters, and how to confront and overcome everything we're being hit with at once. Yes, yes, yes. Yes, we can get through this. Yes, there is a way. Yes, we can live with this daily, hourly onslaught of deliberately engineered chaos and smash and grab and attack on all that we hold dear. Yes, we can live in this. Yes, we can thrive in this. Yes, we can build resistance and resilience to this. Yes, we can. And we must, and there's a lot working for us as we discussed in the show and all future episodes. Olga Lotman will join the Gaslit Nation Salon on February 10th. That's a Monday at 4 p.m. Eastern. So be sure to join us for that. And don't forget our Gaslit Nation game night on Friday, February 7th at 8:30 p.m. Eastern. We are playing Code Names. If you've never played Code Names before, join the club because I will be learning this too along with you. For game night, I am told by our game master that we're supposed to make an account on boardgamearena.com. Boardgamearena.com. So check that out or just come on February 7th and hang out. I'll be there learning the ropes. Both events are for our Patreon community. Zoom links will be shared the morning of the events on patreon.com/gaslit. So be sure to subscribe to help support the show. Thank you to everyone who keeps Gaslit Nation going, especially during these times. We need our independent journalism more than ever. And on Monday, February 24 at 4 p.m. Eastern, we're having the first Gaslit Nation book club at the Gaslit Nation Salon. We're going to discuss, as well as doing our usual on the record ranting, but we're also going to include in the February 24, Monday, 4 p.m. Salon, a discussion of two short and powerful books to help inoculate us to the hyper normalization of America today by showing us how to reject the unacceptable. Those books are Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl and The Stranger by Albert Camus, translated by Matthew Ward. You want to get the Matthew Ward translation, it is the best. You can rent those books from your local library. They're short, powerful, and will help us make sense of how to navigate this time of hyper normalization. And now for the continuation of my discussion with Russian mafia expert Olga Lotman, who has a great Substack that you can find in the show notes for this week's bonus show. Thank you to everyone who supports Gaslit Nation. We could not make this show without you.
We don't need to convince anyone that Elon was, doing a Nazi salute. You can watch it for yourself, and yes, there's whitewashing on Twitter. No, this wasn't. He has whatever.
Including by the Anti-Defamation League.
Exactly. I mean, really, the people who are supposed to protect against Nazis are sitting and covering for a Nazi because they have interest in the White House. But any other normal person would see this, even if they're not politically, in tune. You show it to out of 100 people, 99 people, even blank his face just to show the gesture. They were like, "Ooh, that's a Nazi." That's it. So, I mean, you could gaslight all you want, like we see it. So we are lucky in the fact that they're doing all of this out in the open, and they're going to do the most vile things in the open. And the last thing I'll say, we're lucky that, Trump is old, because I mean, when Putin came into power, he was like 47. Trump is like 70, what, 8, 9 he's going to be. The guy is, huge, very unhealthy, and old. And you could see it. I mean, this is definitely not the Trump of 2020 or the Trump of 2016. So we have those factors also, in consideration. But we have to fight for it. We get to shape the country we want. And it's a matter of, I know a lot of people took after the election said, that's it, I'm done, I'm finished with this resistance, no more. I'm just going to sit this one out and, whatever. Look, this is our country. We cannot let these fascist Nazis, and freaking compromised, Russian loyalist overtake our country. This is our country. Well, we can't let them say that's it. We're here forever, and that's that. You're going to deal with our set of rules. No, and we are the majority.
Absolutely. The Bitcoin bonanza, the meme coin that Trump and Melania unleashed to profit off of this inauguration. It was such a cash grab, get rich quick scheme. And it created a way for foreigners to funnel money to Trump. So Trump is on the phone with Chinese dictator Xi, and he's reassuring she about TikTok, presumably. And then he releases this Trump meme coin. It's getting sold around the world, including across the Chinese linked markets, and massive windfall for Trump. And he does a pump and dump. He just pulls the rug out of it, cashes in, plummets the value, and all the idiots that were buying into this because they worship the man are suddenly out that hundreds of thousands of dollars. Same with Melania's coin. And this skyrockets the Trump's net worth. Nothing like this has ever happened before. It was a spectacular fraud, like the type of fraud that Trump built his career off of, which got his family banned from having any charity in New York State or businesses in New York State. And what's incredible, like when I was phone banking for this election in 2024, I was getting Trump supporters on the call because I guess the Democrats were like, we got to win these white men. And one was like, I will take a bullet for Trump. I'm like, well, what about January 6th? He's like, I will do anything for him. It was like a slave mentality. Like fanboy doesn't begin to describe it. It was like completely cult worship over him. And you see this cult worship, these people are literally like flocking to get ripped off by him to the tune of hundreds of thousands of dollars. One Trump supporter was out. Like he bought high, got stuck selling low as the coin was plummeting. And the Trumps are just lining their pockets. And like I said, this is also legalized bribery from foreign actors that want to get a piece in. And on top of that, the whole cryptocurrency thing, it's a war on the US dollar. I have very intelligent friends who are obsessed with cryptocurrency because they love the pirate aspect of it, the independence of our notoriously corrupt and predatory banking system. They can't wait to build the new. And I understand their intellectual passion for building this new wave. But at the same time, they've been also very straightforward in saying, yeah, so it weakens the dollar. It's a threat to the dollar. And yes, it does make financial sanctions harder because you have these alternative markets that can't be regulated effectively. And Bitcoin's not the only cryptocurrency market by far. More are sprouting up every day. And the whole thing is just like a fetish. I have to tell you, there's a hilarious story, which I'll link to in the show notes, of a man in Wales who had all of his Bitcoin on some hard drive that his now ex-girlfriend threw away. And he's been trying to sue his county in Wales to let him go into the trash heap and dig for this hard drive. And it's been years and years and years and years. And the county's like, no, sir, that is a health risk to you and the county. Your money's gone. And meanwhile, this hard drive of Bitcoin is just going to be accruing, worth into the billions, and he can't get to it. And that is Bitcoin because it doesn't exist in a bank vault. You don't make interest off of it in some bank vault. The bank doesn't get to charge you anything for holding on to it and giving you all sorts of services for holding on to it. It's in your hard drive. It is on you, on your person, wherever you choose to store it. It's a physical good that you carry with you, but that also makes it vulnerable. And it also makes it harder to track and harder to regulate and put sanctions on. So yes, it's very much a war on the almighty dollar, which dominates global finance. And that's a very hard authority to dislodge. But the crypto markets are trying. But Trump is not serious. If he's doing this to his hardcore supporters that tend to be more in that crypto bro fascist camp, right? Like this, it's just hilarious to me that these folks will do it. What are your thoughts on that? These idiots burning themselves?
Well, two things. One, also Trump wants to remove the FDIC assurances, of protecting, what is it, the first 100,000.
Right, which was put in place in response to the Great Depression and the big run on the banks.
But honestly, if I'm allowed to curse on your show,
always.
You know what? For them, I am just sitting here, fuck around and find out. Enjoy. That's it. I don't care what he does to his Trump supporters. They want to, invest their house. They want to sign over their deeds and their cars and their children over to him. They want to traffic their children, for Trump. Whatever they want to do, let them learn. And as far as, that, with the, war on the dollar, again, people are going to find out because you know what? Everyone sat there complaining Biden, 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 Biden did this, Biden, Biden, Biden. First of all, when Biden left office, and for the most part, the better part of last year, inflation was at 2.9%, 2.9, 2.9. Not I think 90 something percent like in Turkey, not 100+% like in Venezuela, 2.9. A normal American inflation falls between 2 and 3%. And yes, there were some things that were definitely, we see it with our own wallets. Like I said, you walk into a supermarket, things, are definitely more expensive, but relative to everyone else around the globe, we were doing okay and we were recovering at a faster pace. Now we need to document all of that because with this war on the dollar, good luck for people in, half a year who are going to open their 401k plans. Forget crypto. Their 401ks are going to go from here to here. So, we're going to see a lot of instability. Plus, with the tariffs that Trump wants to put into place, he didn't even, start the tariffs. They're supposed to start February 1st. Starting in February, you had company after company, including Walmart and all the big giants, saying that guess who is going to pay for these tariffs? You are, all of you. And they said it, and they said we will have to raise prices in order to cover the cost of the tariffs. So it is the consumer who is paying for it. And you saw many retail companies come out November, December, changing their, 2025 guidelines and projections, and now putting the cost on the consumer. So he can say whatever he wants. It's a beautiful thing and whatnot. We need to document, and frankly, we need to be as obnoxious as these mega people and walk around and take a price of eggs, or in some cases, the shortage of eggs, because right now you have bird flu ravaging through the country. It's only going to get worse, especially with Trump's mismanagement. You're going to have poultry farm after poultry farm shutting down. I think yesterday Georgia's poultry farm shut down. They're number one in the state. And I myself saw my local supermarket, like they have one more, like one style of eggs. And it's, how you call it, almost triple the price. It was like $10 for a dozen. So you know what? We need to do that. Document everything. And this is my one suggestion for all your listeners. We are going to be gaslit. They are going to sit there and tell us we're not seeing what we're seeing. The media is going to normalize and whitewash things. Document everything. Document how much your bread was today, how much it was yesterday, what your 401k is, what your car insurance is. Everything, every change that you see documented. So they don't have the luxury of coming and saying, oh, Biden left me this mess. Biden left you a golden economy that was moving in the right direction. Now, if Trump wants to crash it and fleece his supporters on top of it, knock yourself out. Please donate everything. Like I said, they should, hopefully he could convince them to sign off their house deeds to him, so he could build a whole bunch of Trump tower shit across the country. It's their prerogative. They want to pay for this, enjoy.
I want to ask you, what advice do you have for Jeff Bezos, Mark Zuckerberg, and the other CEOs out there? Because what was really the big tell? So you had Meta, which is Facebook, WhatsApp, Threads, and so many other sites. And then Amazon, which the owner, Bezos, has been destroying the Washington Post from within, turning it into a Rupert Murdoch rag increasingly. And then Sundar Pichai, the CEO of Google, which owns YouTube, which is an algorithmic nightmare. And I actually met an engineer at YouTube who works on the algorithm there at a holiday party. And the first thing I said to him was, congratulations on the fascism. And he's a lot of these people that work on these algorithms that are destroying our democracy are liberals they're in blue states, blue counties, and they probably think like, oh, this isn't real. This isn't going to affect me. And they don't understand that they are essentially making the Nazi concentration camp trains run on time. It's like that kind of worker, just keeping their head down and following orders. But these sites are so destructive. And also, these mega companies were the target of Biden's anti-monopoly busts. You had Lena Khan, the superstar Elizabeth Warren protege, the commissioner of the United States Federal Trade Commission. She's still in power. She says she's not going to, she's got a couple more weeks to wrap up her work. On the way out, she unleashed the beast of so many lawsuits that she was working on for years on busting corporate price gouging by Pepsi, Coke, other major brands, anti-monopoly busts, and so on. So those tech business leaders in the front row of the inauguration, they were in the crosshairs of Lena Khan, of Biden's administration, of trying to break apart monopolies and force the rule of law on these mega giants. And they were like, don't you dare touch our trillions. We're going to just usher in fascism because we rather have that than be held accountable to the law and to the American people. And I want to ask you, you've seen the rise of Putin. You see what happens to the business giants of Russia, the ruling oligarchs. What advice do you have for American oligarchs in the fact that once America becomes a dictatorship or is under the helm of a wannabe dictator, their independence is gone. They may think that they're independent, that their money will save them, their power will save them. But in this sort of authoritarian climate, there is no more independence for you anymore. So what would you advise them?
I mean, frankly, that, like you said, they could lose their shirt at any time. That includes Elon. I mean, if Elon, at one point gets under Trump's skin, there is nothing stopping Trump from, basically, using his Department of Justice to put fictitious, criminal charges, strip him of contracts, and frankly, throw him in jail and nationalize Starlink and everything else. So, I mean, these people are playing with fire. They're going to enjoy, and they're going to reap the consequences of what they're sowing. And I personally couldn't care less what happens to them. And I'll show you, one interesting example. And it involves one of the crazy far-right people, Laura Loomer. She is the biggest Trump supporter in the world. I mean, this girl literally, if she could turn herself into a Trump, she would. She, was critical. There was a whole big fight in MAGA land, over H-1B visas, which frankly was extremely entertaining. Vivek got involved and now he's out the door and got thrown out of this whatever imaginary Doge bullshit. And whatnot. So she was very critical because all the white nationalists, because look, Trump assembled a very strong coalition to get into power. The tech bros, this, that, and whatnot. These people have absolutely opposite beliefs. Completely. Elon wants to import every single Indian under an H-1B visa to put into his companies to work 80 hours a week for a dollar, pennies on the dollar. The white nationalists want to get rid of legal citizens, immigrants who have been here for decades because they're not happy and the country's not white for them and they want them all back to where they came from. And, and that's it. So you have these factions who absolutely are, at odds with each other because you cannot be a populist president for the people and for the white movement and at the same time support these oligarchs. And there will be these clashes. And with this the whole Laura Loomer thing, Elon ended up stripping her of her check mark, demonetizing her on ex suspended her temporarily. Then you had the whole Nazi movement, the Groypers, who got involved to back her, attacking Elon. And then guess who's at war with Elon? Steve Bannon. Out of all the people in the world, Steve Bannon's like, I'm going to bury him. I'm going to bury him. And that's it. You know, so you can't have these movements. And this is what's going to happen. They're going to fight amongst each other and let them all find out and let them enjoy. For me, I'm just going to be eating popcorn and watching as they rip each other apart because, they all have absolutely, different ideologies and they have different interests. They have different reasons. The tech bros, they didn't vote for Trump. They're not flooding his, inaugural fund and, shoving tens of millions of dollars down his throat because they want a white America. No, they want their own business interest met. And then all the billionaires, who are screaming about, who are supporting Trump and, heard Trump screaming about the immigration policy. It is absolutely not in their vested interest to have illegal immigrants deported. Whereas Trump's base, this is red meat for them. But are you kidding? My mom lives in South Carolina. 90% of South Carolina, and I can tell you, I mean, they've built probably over 100,000 homes, like new communities pop up. 90% was built by illegal Guatemalans. So these Trump supporters who went and, said, yeah, get rid of those immigrants. Guess what? Are they going to hire Americans to do construction on a 100-degree day? Are they going to hire Americans to go and pick eggs and pick fruit and do the jobs that Americans don't want to do? So, these are again conflicting interests because for a billionaire or a millionaire, or frankly, anyone who has a business, their vested interest is in the bottom line and creating the best bottom line they have. These mega supporters, the hardcore nationalists, their bottom line is whiteifying America and getting rid of every single immigrant, legal, illegal, birthright citizen, no birthright, whatever it is. They don't want any brown or black people here. They wanted a white America. These two interests are going to collide. So for me, honestly, let them enjoy and they can rip each other apart, but none of them are safe. Just like Laura Loomer thought she was safe because she was, flew around with Trump on his plane during campaign. Obviously, she's not that safe. If her check mark got pulled, she got demonetized, and Elon, decided to basically go after her and all the, her supporters and silence anyone who's trying to defend her. So I mean, and this is, it will be interesting. But we can't focus on that. We need to look at the systematic abuses and erosion of, institutions and power and corruption, because all these shiny objects, they're entertaining. Like after I'm done, with what I've done for the day, I sit down at night and scroll to see who's in the latest battle, what's happening. These are shiny objects, but it just shows you that this Trump mega movement is also, it's not a solid movement because all these people are corrupt, they're freaks, they're lunatics, and they have their own interest at heart of why they voted for Trump.
And what's really interesting is that, in a way, Trump is paving the way for Chinese greatness, for the Chinese century to officially begin. China has been building across Africa, using Russia as its terror force. And there's been tensions between the Chinese and the Russians over that because Russian terrorists always go too far and they're raping and pillaging and end up killing Chinese nationals in the process. But China has been very serious in buying off several Russian African governments and establishing its dominance across the continent, as the US has been pulling out starting under the first Trump term, under Tillerson. And so now with Trump pulling us, the United States, out of the World Health Organization, and he's saying, well, China should pay for it. China probably will. China will probably become like that new superpower, like filling in this vacuum. And with Trump's big Bitcoin scheme, with China, that flaring up across Chinese networks, it's almost like China knows that we can invade Taiwan by just putting money in Trump's pocket, by buying him off. Because
Absolutely.
what China's doing is it's building up its military. She's cleaning house of corruption. He doesn't want to make the same mistake Putin made. And he's also building what's needed for a water landing to, these massive invasion barges to carry tanks and military trucks to Taiwan. So he's building. Like, believe your eyes, believe your ears. She's getting
And
ready to
Musk is
invade.
behind. And Musk is behind this because I can tell you that first of all, I laugh, with the far right screaming about, communist, commie Harris, commie, you're a commie. Everyone on the left is a commie. They don't even know what the fuck a commie is, but everyone's a commie. Now they are sitting and beginning to worship commies. I mean, they are literally beyond thrilled that Trump is saving TikTok. The same people who were screaming, ban communist TikTok. This is a communist tool. Now, oh, this is amazing. Oh, great job, great job. So, I mean, now apparently we're at a point in Megaland that commies are good. And those are real commies, not the left who are not commies, but with China, who is a real communist regime, that apparently is good. So, I mean, Elon is also assisting in prepping the information space for this to make China acceptable and basically the next Russia. I mean, you had all the Trump supporters praising and falling over their feet for Putin and what a wonderful country Russia is. Now they're all being indoctrinated to now what a wonderful country China is. So I mean, look, we're gonna have hell, absolute hell on every front. I can't sugarcoat it. I mean, it's going to be whatever you imagine happening. It's going to be 10 times worse. We're gonna have to deal with it, and at the end of the day, we have to remember that we are the ones. You had Martin Luther King, he didn't say, oh, well, we're being suppressed and that's it. I'm giving up my movement. He grew the movement. People came out and supported the movement, and he made change in the civil rights movements and is one of the America's greatest heroes.